Hello, Bulldog fans. Welcome to Bulldog Breakdown with Coach Rocco, your inside look at Bulldog football. What an exciting time to be a Bulldog. We're going to break down games for you. We're going to look ahead to games for you. We get to know your team a little better. I'm Cody Mumal. Played for the Bulldogs a long time ago, and I'm going to be your co-host for the journey. Your main host right here is going to be here through the season. Joining me is Coach Rocco. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Cody. You know, we've been trying to pull this together for a long time, and maybe the stadium, the newness of everything, and people coming back and having renewed interest in the program. It's a perfect time to start this. So I appreciate you taking the lead on it.
Absolutely, and we're excited to get some of your insights into the game, insights into things that maybe some of us that just sit in the stands are curious about, would like to ask, and we're going to even give you guys an opportunity throughout the season to send in questions to ask the coach, to learn a little bit more about preparation. Speaking of insights, we just came off a remarkable 49-6 win over Franklin County. Coach, how are you feeling about the win?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you win, it's a joyous occasion for sure. I mean, Franklin County is a large 5 or 6A school, and they always have good athletes, big, strong kids, and a really nice blend of athleticism on that team. So they, you always have to work to beat them for sure. And then, the week before beating Salem, another larger school. So we've been able to rack up some power points for the playoffs, hopefully that are ahead, 8 weeks from now. But both of those wins were huge wins and against big schools.
And it's definitely been an electrifying beginning of the season. Some really amazing moments already in a couple weeks. Before we dive into kind of breaking down the Franklin County game, share with us a little bit of your heart for this podcast. What are we going to hear each and every week? What's your hope to do?
Yeah,
with this?
You said it. I think reviewing the previous week's game, looking ahead to the next opponent, and then really highlighting one of our players who everyone's going to get to meet here in a little bit, who was our player of the game from Friday night. So, it should be a fun. Hopefully we can keep it moving, and people would have interest in hearing this each week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, look, whether you're a parent, a current player, a former player, community member, somebody that just attends LCA, or you're just a fan of good football, you're in the right place. Stick around. It's going to be a great show.
Yes.
All right, Coach. 49-6 over Franklin County. We just talked about that kind of in the opening, but I want to dig into it a little bit more. I want to ask you some questions maybe I thought about and some that I've heard on it. 5 touchdowns from Gideon Davidson.
Yeah.
Punt return, like running all over the field.
Right.
Something we've come to expect. It's no small feat. What makes Gideon such a special player?
Yeah. Number one, I mean, he's just a great young man and likable. His teammates want to play hard for him. But then just the God-given talent that he has. I mean, as a running back, the base that he runs with, you see a lot of sprinters run with a very narrow gait. He runs fast with a little wider base. So for a guy that's as strong as he is, as fast as he is, to try to even knock him off his feet because he's got such a wide base, everything he does is very difficult. And then he's got great balance. I mean, it really, I kind of think of like when I was a little kid, I hate to admit this, but I had a little cat, and I loved throwing the cat up in the air and seeing it come down on all fours.
Right.
Gideon's like that, he'll get tripped up and he'll be up in the air and he'll land almost like Spider-Man, and he's got his balance about him. Most people would be all out of sorts. He always comes down and with balance and able to hit the ground and start sprinting again.
Yeah, you saw that on that punt return.
Yeah.
He got to the sideline, had all the guys around him, kind of goes up in the air, comes down, and almost goes laterally and then up the field.
Right.
And I could never in my lifetime have ever done anything like that.
Yeah, without having to go to the doctors right after.
Yeah, that's right. Our defense was relentless at one point, and I think at the end of the game, I looked, rushing yards were negative rushing yards, and you want to come into practice next week and say, we let this go, but we, with all those tackles for losses, and I know some of them were on the punts and different things, but that was a powerful game by our defense.
We had one breakdown, and that's what it was. It was just a coverage breakdown that we will get corrected. And the guys that were involved with it are better than that miscue, and so they will get it corrected and will be better for it, really learning the hard way. But other than that one long play that was a coverage breakdown, I think they had minus 18 yards rushing. So we can feel great about that, but we'll talk a little bit shortly here about our upcoming opponent. We can't kind of sit back and rest on our laurels because this next team is very talented.
Right. The thunderstorm, we got to talk a little bit about that. If you weren't paying attention, it was about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes of absolute, I mean, it came down hard. Thankfully, we have this stadium where the game could continue.
That's right.
But the thunderstorm being unexpected, how do you keep the team focused? They're in the locker room. How do you keep focused during that weather delay?
Yeah, when we first went in the locker room, honestly, we didn't know how long that would be. So we really were trying to treat it like a halftime, 20-minute halftime. And we started doing what we do at halftime with coaches getting together, reviewing what we've seen, start bringing the position groups over and start coaching those guys up. But then, when we got beyond 20, 30 minutes, and it became pretty obvious that this is going to be a little while. So then what we did, we got our iPads and started breaking down what we saw on video, and we're able to sit down with position groups and say, okay, see what happened here, we need to adjust here, and so forth. So we made the best use of the time, but I'd be honest, or be lying if I said that it wasn't a little bit disruptive,
right.
Because then you got to come back out on the field, warm back up again, almost like a pregame, to get the guys back warmed up again. So, yeah, it was a unique experience. We've been through one of those or two of those in our day here, but our guys are businesslike, they're focused, and we're able to flick the switch back on pretty quickly.
There's a tremendous turnout of alumni for the game, not just the Bulldog alumni on the field, but there was a lot of guys and former students and that came out to see this. What does that mean for you to have that kind of support from former players and former Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, it's great, and I mean, it's really what we're trying to build here. And, the uniqueness of playing over Liberty Williams Stadium for all the years was a tremendous advantage in some ways, and certainly a benefit and a blessing. But you put 4,000 or 5,000 people in a 30,000 seat stadium, it doesn't seem like that. Well, when you put that same 4,000 or 5,000 people in here, like we did Friday night, I mean, people are sitting on top of each other, they're leaning on the fence, and now you start creating a little bit of an atmosphere and a little bit of community, and it makes it fun to come to the games and get a little bit of enthusiasm going. So hopefully this environment here is going to lead to a little bit more of a school spirit, camaraderie, and I love the fact that all the old timers, as I call them, are coming back, and we want to keep them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we check out of the Franklin County game, just curious, is there any play for you that sticks out from that game? As there was a lot of significant plays, but give me one that really stuck out to you.
Yeah, I mean, the 5 touchdowns that Gideon scored in the first half, I mean, that's rare. You don't see a running back specifically be able to get loose like that 5 times in a very short amount of time. And the majority of those plays were just, our basic execution where we get him into the secondary and then it's over. Our offensive line played really, really well, and really they're becoming, they're great young men, but they're becoming a little bit nasty too, and within the rules, within the whistles and everything, but they're starting to believe in themselves and they're starting to mash people, and that makes it even better for Gideon.
As a former lineman, he breaks through. I'm like, that's good line play right there.
That's right.
That's good line play. All right. So we've got with us Weston Woodard. Got to break the rock. How did that feel?
Felt great.
Felt great?
Felt real good, yes, sir.
Felt you had a good game? All right. Defensive end, but more than that this year. Tell us a little bit about your position you're playing out this year.
So defensive end, obviously, and then tight end. fulfilling more of our blocking tight end role, but I get a few bones thrown to me every now and again.
That's right.
Yes, Coach.
So let's start on the defensive side of things. You had several tackles for losses. I mean, some absolutely powerful hits. It was pretty impressive to watch. Tell me what's going through your mind when you get through the line and you know you're going to make that TFL, that behind the line tackle.
You're really just thinking. I mean, for me, honestly, I got to realize I'm not too far upfield first. That's a big one.
Good answer to that question, right?
And then I got to think, is this guy really going to have the ball? And then obviously execute on that.
Coach, you're watching Weston get behind that line. Of course, obviously, hopefully he doesn't get too far upfield.
Right.
But he makes that play behind the line of scrimmage. How pivotal is that when you see him doing those things?
Yeah, Weston from day one has been a guy that plays with a great motor, and there's a lot of things that you can coach in the game of football, technique and fundamentals and whatever, but sometimes you just can't teach that guy that has that motor that just runs, and that's just God-given for Weston. He came to us, they moved here from Northern Virginia several years ago, and kind of even new to football, but the moment he walked out on the field, it took him a while to kind of learn, the schematics of the game, but he was that guy that was always running and making hits and bringing energy to the team.
Yeah. So let's look at a little bit of the offensive side. We can't help but say, I mean, this is a big week. A lot of people telling you congrats on that touchdown. Beautiful play. Ran it out. Tell me what it was like crossing into the end zone and realizing you just made a touchdown. What's that feeling like?
Well, first off, thank you. And then second off, I mean, it's all new to me. So the first one, it kind of just felt like freeing, knowing that you're in the end zone, you finished your goal, you accomplished what you needed to do. And then it was really cool getting to celebrate with the team. Everybody just getting excited, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was a little worried that you're about to spike the ball. That ball went up in the air. I said, please hold it up there.
No. Not like that.
You said something interesting to me. I saw when you headed down the field, you headed toward the corner of the end zone, but suddenly planted that foot, kind of came back. What was that about?
Well,
Showing off his move is what
I was trying to show off my jukes and my jives. But, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm so geared towards hitting. I was really looking for somebody to hit.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had the ball, and the goal was to be in the end zone. So I redirected myself and just planted and went.
That was nice. That was good.
Yes, sir.
Coach, you have a couple people play both sides of the ball. Quite a few people. Yeah. How does that affect game planning to know you got guys on both sides of the ball, both in making sure they don't get overused, but also their abilities?
Yeah, and that's a small little high school like ours. We only have 30-some kids on our team. You have to play your best guys on both sides of the ball, and conditioning's a big thing. I mean, we've never doubted that with Weston. I mean, he's always one of the best conditioned athletes on our team. But developing a skill set that is both offensive and defensive, again, is not an easy thing to do. He already told you, like, he caught the ball in the flat and he was looking to run someone over. That's not always an offensive mindset, but we love that about him. But we have to do that. We have to play multiple guys both sides of the ball. And Weston has really fulfilled both sides of that very, very well this year.
Yeah. Weston, for the game, there's close to 100 former Bulldogs on the sidelines watching you guys come out, in the stands watching you guys play. Tell me a little bit about what it means to you to be a Bulldog, both in character and community and all that kind of thing.
What it means to be a Bulldog, it's really just a brotherhood. You find that family in it. Like Coach said, I moved down here not too long ago. Didn't know anybody, and then I joined football, and really you're just inducted into sort of a family, and it was nice being able to get to see some of my old family members, if you will, and then past generations that led up to this field being here. I mean, it was really special. It was a really special thing. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, you guys got to be the first to play on this field, inaugurate the field. Tell me, for you, and Coach, I'm going to ask you in a little while, what was it like playing on a Bulldog field for the first time?
I mean, it was really just something else. I can't find a word to describe it because it was just, it was really special. I guess that would be the word I would use to describe it, to be able to do something that people, like I said, for 50 years past have been trying to do. Like you played here, you were
Yep.
trying to do that, and I'm sure it felt good to finally see it done, but it was nice to just be able to have a home, something to defend.
Coach, Weston talks about the Bulldog spirit. You've been here 20 years coaching Bulldogs. Tell me from your perspective, how does Weston as an athlete and as a young man embody that Bulldog?
I mean, even just in this interview that he's having with you right now, I mean, he's a quality person, and you know, that's what our program hopefully is about. You know, we utilize the sport of football as basically a tool to help these young men grow in their Christian walk, certainly, but then just their battle to be a warrior when they go to the next step of their life. And football is just a tool in that way. And Weston embodies everything that we're trying to bring out in our student athletes. And you know, I know he's going to be successful at the next level, and he will represent us well.
Now, Weston, I know that this next question, and it's going to be our last question, I'm going to let you go get some food and everything. But this next question always has a standard answer, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway. Tell me a little bit about your goals for the season for yourself and as a team member.
So I would say goals for the season starting out is just to improve every day. I mean, you got to come out and practice and find that one thing that you want to get better on during the day and really just focus on that thing until you master it. Goals for myself, definitely to just continue progressing, not only spiritually but football-wise. Continue to just go in the right direction, do my best to stay good on the field and off the field. And then for the team, just a state championship. I mean, that's what our eyes are set for.
Nice.
And they've always been set there.
Bulldog Nation, Weston Woodard. Thanks, Weston.
Hey.
All right, Coach, that was pretty cool having Weston in here with us.
Yeah.
What a player. But you've got a whole locker room full of players. And, you know, we can sit and look back a whole lot at what was, the game that was, but we'd be sleeping on what's yet to come. You're already out practicing, already getting ready for the next game. So let's talk about our next opponent. What are their strengths? What are the weaknesses? Amherst is coming in here, and they're not going to be impressed by our stadium at all. They're not going to be impressed by a win over Franklin County.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
Well, they have a new coach, Chris Moore, who was he was an assistant coach at VMI. Actually, he was on my brother Dan's staff up at VMI, and he chose to take a high school job coming home to Amherst, where he's from. And man, I tip my hat to him on that, because, you know, getting out of college and then going back to where your roots are, he's a really good guy. I've met him a couple times, and I think he's going to be a tremendous high school coach and really get Amherst where they have been in the past. Tremendously athletic. They are an athletic team, and I think that what Chris is doing with them, you know, fits what their skill sets are. So, you know, we're going into week 3. They're undefeated. We're undefeated, and it should be a big game.
That always makes for a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
So going into this game, every game has its X factors, the matchups that you're looking for, and as fans, we like to know that. Like when I come out on Friday, what are some matchups that are going to be really interesting for fans to watch that you've maybe identified so far?
Well, they have 2 electric offensive weapons. They play defense as well, but number 2 and number 7. Don't recall their names off the top, but number 2 and number 7. 2 is a taller, longer receiver that goes and gets the ball. He's made in 2 games 3 and like Odell Beckham type of catches. And then number 7 is like a little quick. If you remember one of our former players, Jalen Belford, who's now playing over at Liberty, he reminds me a lot of Jalen. Just quick, elusive. You know, cat-like, strong, a little guy as well. But so those 2 guys, if we allow them to do what they do, it's going to be a long night. So we've got to find ways to keep them corralled, you know, whether it's in coverage, whether it's putting someone in their face and not letting them off the line of scrimmage, whatever it is we decide to do. If it's working, we'll keep them somewhat under wraps. If it's not working, they're going to be lighting up the scoreboard. So I would say that kind of a matchup and what we can do to contain them will be pivotal.
last thing about this game, we played Franklin County. We've played Salem, teams that are not necessarily close to us.
Right.
Now we're coming to some home competition. Amherst is not coming far away. They're going to bring fans this way. How does that change for a student to be playing guys that they maybe know and that type of thing? How does that change the game?
It's why we got into the VHSL and petitioned to get in. Sorry, losing my voice. To have these crosstown rivals, Amherst is 20 minutes away. We'll play other teams in the Seminole District that are less than 20 minutes away. Right. So every one of them is you're going to see the guy at the grocery store buying bread next week, and you're going to see him at the mall wearing his Letterman jacket the next week. So, it's a friendly competition that is really starting to brew locally. And I think everybody would agree that the Seminole District in football, at least, is, the best district in the state, at least in the, Class 3, Class 4 range. There's none better. So it's a lot of fun to compete week in and week out. You don't know what you're going to get, and you gotta line up every week and give it your best, or else you're going down.
I'm really excited to see Amherst fans come and be a part of the stadium. We got a great spot, a great place to get food for Amherst fans to be here. Speaking of the stadium, Coach, before we close out today, I just want to ask you, each week we'll do something, maybe some fan questions, maybe some things that people are wanting to learn, but this week is the first week, so I want to ask you a couple questions just about the stadium. For you, how did it feel to step on Bulldog Stadium for the first time?
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, I've been here for 20 years now, and been a Bulldog, because my family became Bulldogs, really before I did. My own children went to LCA. In part, that was the reason I came here years ago, was to be able to be a part of the school that my kids were going to and be able to coach my sons and things like that. So, I've been bleeding red, white, and blue for a long time now. And as I said earlier, it was a tremendous benefit in many ways, and for high school kids to have the experience to play at Williams Stadium. But I think the longer that was going on, the more it became, as we got into the VHSL and saw the crosstown rivalry aspect to it, to be able to put those crowds in a high school stadium. And also, I think in many cases, maybe the locals felt like, maybe LCA had an advantage playing over at a college field. Well, we wanted to take that away from them, and we got a high school field just like everybody else does, and so it's I think going to be the best thing in recent years that has happened to Bulldog Nation, but then to our athletic department, to be able to have a track, to be able to have a facility that our soccer team can play on, have artificial turf that all of our teams can benefit from. It's just going to set our athletic program another notch apart.
Yeah. The fans, there was a lot of fans here, and I loved seeing that student section. It was loud. Yeah. Just real quick, does it make a difference for our athletes to have a crowd that is loud and cheering when they're out there on the field?
Yeah, I love our student body, and they sometimes can go over, get out of the lane a little bit, and we got to bring them back in the lane. But I love when they're coming to the games. The Salem game that we played a couple weeks ago, that wasn't right around the corner. No. We had a nice contingent down there and carrying on and having fun, and it means a lot to the athletes on the field, and it's really, like I said, what we're trying to create in creating an atmosphere when you come to these games. We want it to be a social event. You mentioned the food, that music, the student interaction, the play on the field. We want it to be an event when you come to a game here on a Friday night.
Yeah. Well, this has been really cool.
Yeah,
I think I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of the first episode of Bulldog Breakdown with Coach Rocco. It's been a good week of Bulldog football, but we got another one coming up. Just watch them practicing out here, getting ready. It's going to be exciting. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. It's called X now. And honestly, on Friday nights, you can follow us on Max Preps. We keep that updated with all the scoring. So if you can't watch the game, we try and stream the games as much as we can on our Facebook. But if you can't get that, we'll keep you updated with the scores. And we'd love to see you here on Friday night for Amherst. You can get your tickets before the game. I'm going to tell you, that is an insider tip right there. Purchase your tickets online. The link is going to be out all week. And then you can skip the lines when you come in and get your burgers over. We need to name our concession stand. Maybe you can help us with that. Cool.
Let's put it out there to the public.
Let's put it out there. Hey, Coach, thank you for joining us. Got anything else you want to say to them?
Great job. Thank you. Please continue to come out and support us, and we're really appreciative of these stands getting filled, and I think the kids really enjoy it as well. So please continue to support Bulldog football.
Go Bulldogs.
Thank you.